Good morning, everyone. It's Jada here from J. Claire's Reborn Doll Creations. So I'm back, and our doll head that we sealed last night has completely dried and is just ready to be baked. So I'm going to sit him right here. And I've got another doll head that I have to seal. And I've got some twin bee limbs that we're going to crease. So you guys can kind of see what that looks like. And we are going to do some more modeling on the twin bee heads. Now these need to bake off from the layer I did last night. After I got off of the video, I did not do anything else. It was kind of late, so I just went straight to bed. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm actually baking the heads, and we're just gonna let Saskia continue to sit there and be really sweet and adorable. Okay, so whenever you're doing creases, you wanna have like a really thin brush. And so this looks kind of gross, y'all, but this is my little paints that I do all the veining and creases and all of that. This is a mixture of the Genesis Thinning Medium and Mineral Spirits. Okay, so you want to make sure that you don't just go too heavy on the thinning medium, because if you do, your paint will look chalky. So you see how that's kind of thick a little bit. That needs a little bit more of the mineral spirit. So we're going to put a little bit more in that. Okay, just literally like just a little drop there. You're just going to mix that up really gently. I'll have to do another video on how I mix my paint. Sometime I make custom colors. So that's about right. Whenever you dab it on the side, you want it to just kind of be thin, you know, nothing too seriously thick. And whenever you're getting ready to actually apply the paint, you want to really do this on the side several times. You don't want to have a whole lot of paint in your brush. So it doesn't really look like there's much in there, but it's more than what you would think. All right, so let's get going here on the creases. Now, some people like to do paint in every little crease. That's a really big mistake, because if you do too much, it just doesn't look natural. I choose very carefully which ones that I like to put paint in, and honestly, I like to do the bigger creases, the like deeper ones. So I literally just kind of go, and if a little bit gets on the side, it's not a big deal. Don't freak out. You can always get that off. And we're going to come back over this in just a minute. Okay. Just have to kind of have a steady hand. If you guys hear Toy Story in the background, I actually nanny a little boy as well, so you might hear him. He's watching Toy Story 4. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the creases, and then we're going to do a little bit of blushing as well in this layer, and then we're going to let it dry and then bake. Okay, so I'm going to do around the foot here. Okay. But all those little tiny ones, we're not going to mess with those. Okay. So I like to do in between the toes, put a little color there. Okay. All right. Maybe get just a little bit of color in those. Okay, and also gonna do a little bit. Ooh, that's the oven. Just a little bit on the bottom of the foot, okay, not much. And then I also like to go back like this and just go the crease of the toes. Okay, now you can get another like thin brush. I've cut this one down quite a bit, and we're just gonna go back through and we're going to kind of just push the paint around into the crease. Okay. You just want to make sure that you don't have a lot of paint just kind of pulled up right there. I don't think this brush is doing so hot. Hold on. You guys, it's not working out there. Let me get this one. Okay, we're gonna swap real quick because I don't think that brush was doing its job. I like to normally do a really thin brush, but the one that I normally use is it's kind of MIA this morning. I'm not really sure. You just want to get some of that excess paint, and sometimes I'll tap down into the creases because you don't want it to sit there and pull up, because it's gonna look really bad when it does that. Okay, just want everything to look really super natural. Okay, now this is just my cosmetic wedge that I kind of will go back over and just kind of make sure that I didn't get it anywhere other than where it's supposed to be. I go back over, just kind of tap. Okay, just kind of tap off the excess there. I still see. I like to have a towel laying down on my table so that I can just kind of wipe off any excess out of my brush. Okay, now we're going to move on to the blushing of the heel of the foot, the toes, and the knee, and then I also like to blush the top of the thighs. So we're just going to put a little bit like that. You hear my dog drinking water in the background. There's always going to be some kind of noise in my video, guys. I mean, this is real life here. So we're just going to blend this in. And the whole point is to not really see as much of a line. You just want there to be some color there, okay? You don't want it to really show where the lines start and kind of end, if that makes any sense. Probably doesn't make sense, but like, you don't want this big red ring around the knee. That doesn't really look natural, so you need to blend that into the rest of the skin. Okay, now this is just the very first layers. You're going to build upon your layers very slowly, a little bit at a time. I like to do the sides of the foot and the heel of the foot. Okay, and again, you don't really want there to be like this really big red line. You just really want to blend that in, especially you can see what I'm talking about with the red line on the inside of the foot here. So we're just going to kind of pick up and pull inward with our sponge, and that just kind of blends it and makes it look really nice and natural. Okay, so now we're going to do the toes. And you don't have to really just be really neat because you can get some of it off. If you mess up, don't worry. And again, I mean, don't make this like super red. We're kind of just going for a natural pinkish color. And this is not a pink that I'm using. It is actually red, but it's so thin that it looks okay. Okay, so I'm not really gonna pounce that too much with my sponge because you'll take off too much of the paint. I've got just a dry brush. This is the one I used last night, and you can kind of see it's probably about time to retire this brush because I've used it so much. But you just kind of touch a little bit, not really hard. But you just want that to look really natural. And just make sure, look and make sure that that looks really good. It's a very subtle thing in the beginning. Let me show you a foot that's still blank. Hold on. Let me get one that's just like this one. You can definitely tell the difference in the color. Okay, so we're just gonna let this dry. Over here, I've got my own little homemade thing over here. I really need to get me something nice to sit my limbs on, but these are just baskets and dowel rods. And I use my, whenever I do a magnetic pacifier, I take the end of the pacifier and just glue it so that the dowel rod doesn't just dig into the vinyl. You know, we have to improvise sometimes, use what we have, be resourceful. Okay, so we have got that one limb done. I'm not going to do all the limbs on the video because that would take a really long time. So what we're going to do next, so I moved my painting station around last night, and so that you guys can maybe see a little bit better of what I'm doing here. And this is not normally where I paint. I moved to a different room so I could have better lighting for you guys to see. Okay, so this just come out of the oven, and we need to let it cool down before we apply any more of the layers. It's very important to let your kit cool down completely, because if you put paint onto a really hot kit that just come out of the oven, that paint can become permanent because this is Genesis heat set paint. Okay, so we're just gonna lay this doll down. I don't like to sit the doll like this while it's cooling because it needs that hole to vent, let that heat out. If you sit a doll down on a flat surface whenever it's really hot, it can actually cave the head in. That has happened to me before in my earlier days when I didn't really know what I was doing. So be careful with that. Okay, so what can we do now? Because I've got to let that cool down. We can't do mottling just yet because we're waiting on that. Let me put the other Twin Bee head in, and then so we can actually do some mottling on the Saskia while we're waiting on that to bake. And I'm trying to decide what layer I want to do next, or what color I want to do next on her. I think maybe I'm going to do maybe this color next. It's like kind of like a greenish color. This kind of just cools down the layer, the paint, makes it look a little more subtle here. Let me find my blue. And like I said last night, I have certain paintbrushes that I only use on certain colors. I don't like to mix that at all. So we're going to use this sponge, and we're just going to stir this up, make sure that it is all together. It's very thin. You don't want anything thick. And if you put it on there and it's just too dark, add more of your mineral spirits, okay? Okay, so we're not gonna put as much of this. Normally I do 2, but since this is such a dark color, we're just gonna use 1. Okay. All right. Just gonna do this all over the little leg here. Okay, I'm not gonna do the toes. This is just a very light color, and you really can't tell very much, honestly. That's the thing. You just have to build up on the colors and just build and build, and eventually, you know, you'll get it all. It'll all come together. Okay, let me get the other. I'm trying not to get myself on camera, guys. Nobody needs to see all of that. Well, my goodness, I'm having trouble this morning here. All right. Again, just going over it with one layer of the paint. And we're just going to tap very lightly. You don't want to just like really push in, because you want these little holes to show on the mottling. The little holes in the sponge that we made. You want that to come through, because that really mimics the baby skin. Makes it look really good, really realistic. Right, I think that was really good, that layer. Okay, we're just gonna do this. Okay, we're gonna set this over here. That one's probably dry anyways. All right, let's do a layer on the face of Saskia. Her arms are not ready for that yet. Her arms are kind of behind. I've got to catch up on a couple layers before we do this layer on that. Trying to remember if I baked her after I did that last layer. I think I did. My goodness, y'all, when you get this many, it really starts to get difficult a little bit. You gotta really stay on top of it, because you want to do the same amount of layers on each part of the baby's body, you know, to make it look even, make it all match. So you have to be really careful with that. I avoided like around the eyes and stuff on this one this time. Okay. So this is probably all I'm going to do for now. This is already a really long video. I'm going to bake some of these, and then I will be back here shortly. Thanks for watching, you guys. Bye.